On April 26, 2010, Officer Ryan Smith tasered a 59-year-old elementary school teacher named Janice Wells. Wells had called 911 to report a burglary at her home. We wanted to know why Smith was still a police officer after being fired for excessive force. We found Officer Smith working one county over from the one that fired him. When we caught up with him through a coworker, Officer Smith did not want to speak with us. First, he told us that we had to talk with his attorney, and then shortly after that, he told us that we could be arrested for filming him.
On April 26, 2010, Janice Wells, a 59-year-old school teacher, called Richland, Georgia Police Department to investigate a burglary to her home. While she waited for the police, she was accompanied by a friend, John Robinson. Robinson offered to remain with Wells for her safety until the police arrived. Officer Timothy Murphy responded to the call. After he arrived on the scene, Officer Murphy began asking questions. The questions, however, did not relate to the burglary.
Well, I had called a friend over and showed him the fingerprints. And I told him just wait with me until, the cop get here. And so he did, and when the cop came, I told him he could leave. I can handle it from here.
So you changed.
And after he left, the policeman started, his whole demeanor changed.
Officer Murphy demanded that Wells explain her relationship to her friend, John Robinson. Wells told the officer that her relationship was personal. She also told the officer she no longer required his assistance.
And I told him, I said, well, he says, who is that? I said, sir, I didn't call you here for that. I said, I called you here for another reason. Well, I need to know who that was. I said, I tell you what, you can just leave. And then he said, well, I can lock you up for obstruction of justice.
Janice Wells, thinking the incident was over, started walking back towards her home. Though Wells had not committed any crime according to his police report, Officer Murphy attempted to place Wells under arrest. Murphy would later explain that he intended to arrest Wells for obstruction.
I told him to leave, and he told me he can lock me up for obstruction of justice. And I said, well, who justice? And then I said, well, I tell you what, let me go get my pocketbook, get my purse. And he said, okay, and I was going to lock the door. Then I said, well, he got a gun, he might kick the door down, or anything could happen. So I said, well, I better get my purse and go on back out. So when I got my purse, I said, sir, I'm not going. Then he started pulling on me.
Did he place you under arrest at that time?
No, he started pulling on me.
Okay.
And I said, sir, I'm not going anywhere. And then so he said, yes, you are, because you're going to tell me who that was. And I don't know why he was so persistent on knowing who that was, because, see, that wasn't even important, who that was. So when we went on around the side of the house, and I said, sir, I'm not getting in your car. Then he started pulling on me again. So I walked around the house, and he was steady walking and pushing before I realized that he had pepper sprayed me. That was when I ran. Then he ran after me. So I think he slipped.
Officer Murphy pepper sprayed Janice Wells in the face. Moments later, Murphy tackled Wells to the ground. A second officer, Ryan Smith, arrived as backup. Smith then tasered Janice Wells repeatedly, though there is no evidence she was offering any resistance.
I'm gonna put you in the pose. Get my shoe and my pocketbook. I ain't gonna do nothing. You make sure, yeah. Come on. Larry, help. Larry, I did something, Larry. Go ahead and get in the car and we'll talk. Get in the car. Go ahead and get in the car. Get in the car. Let him cook you.
Wells was arrested and transported to the Richland, Georgia police station.
If you were Tim Murphy, what would you have done differently?
Well, based on the information from what I gathered, I didn't see any probable cause for him to try to arrest her in the first place. No, well, actually, the person that was there was not the perpetrator. The perpetrator had already left the scene. And she was trying to tell the police officer what actually happened.
Approximately 20 minutes after her arrest, Sheriff Larry Jones ordered Wells released. All charges were dropped against Janice Wells, and Sheriff Larry Jones fired Officer Timothy Murphy. After the charges were dropped, Janice Wells was contacted by attorney Gary Parker. Gary Parker agreed to represent Miss Wells after being paid a retainer. On April 26, 2010, attorney Gary Parker filed a federal civil rights lawsuit on behalf of Janice Wells against officers Ryan Smith and Timothy Murphy. Federal court records show that lawyers filed a motion to dismiss on September 21, 2012. Attorney Gary Parker did not file a response. On November 23, 2012, the defendant's motion to dismiss was granted. Attorney Gary Parker did not appeal the ruling, nor did he notify his client, according to our investigation. On March 18, 2013, attorneys representing the officers filed a motion for summary judgment. Once again, Attorney Parker did not respond to the motion. Though it is evident that attorney Gary Parker abandoned his legal representation of Miss Wells, in March 2013, attorney Parker requested additional money from Miss Wells. He told her he needed another $500 to keep her legal matter moving forward. But less than 3 weeks after this assurance, on April 2, 2013, attorney Gary Parker wrote a letter to Janice Wells notifying her that he was withdrawing from the case due to medical reasons, stress, and an inability to perform his duties as her attorney. Strangely, the letter is not dated, but we recovered the actual date of April 2, 2013 from the timestamp from the post office. In addition to explaining his reasons for dropping the case, attorney Gary Parker assured Miss Wells that he had notified the court of his intention to withdraw as legal counsel in her case. He also stated in the same letter that he had asked for a 45-day stay of the case so that she could find new counsel. The court records show there is no request for an extension, nor is there a notification of the attorney's decision to withdraw. Federal Judge Land dismissed the case on May 2, 2013. On May 5, 2013, in response to multiple phone calls from Miss Wells, attorney Gary Parker wrote a second letter. In that letter, attorney Gary Parker chastises Miss Wells for continuing her case in the face of evidence that she is a fornicator and an adulterer. Attorney Gary Parker advises Miss Wells to abandon the case because intelligent white jurors would not believe her. Attorney Gary Parker advised Miss Wells that God is punishing her for her sins and that she will not be rewarded for bringing a false case to the court. In a final bizarre admonishment, attorney Gary Parker advised Miss Wells that white people are upset with the election of President Obama. PoliceAbuse.com is assisting Miss Wells with reporting her complaint to the Georgia Bar Association. We sent a licensed private investigator to Georgia to locate attorney Gary Parker. Attorney Gary Parker refused to speak with us.
He's at the back door. I'm Mr. Miller. I'm a journalist with policeabuse.com. I'm here with her.
Get that camera and get off my property.
Okay,
Get that camera and get the fuck off my property now. Fuck off.
Since our visit to Georgia, we have learned that attorney Gary Parker has abandoned his legal practice.